So where
Absolutely.
Where are we?
We're where we are 2 years ago. I mean, unemployment continues to skyrocket. I saw Ron Paul question Marissa Bernanke this past week, and he said, look, unemployment's over 20% and climbing. And, of course, he's using John Williams and my figures, which is terrific. I'm in at 20.5. John's in at 20.6 unemployment on a U6 basis, not counting the birth-death ratio. And so it's getting worse, not better. And how can you have a recovery when you have climbing unemployment? Now, I don't think unemployment's going to climb as quickly over the next, say, year to year and a quarter as it has in this immediate past. But I think, as I estimated in January, that unemployment this year on a U6 basis, which I just explained, would be about 22%. And I think next year, because of the spending that's going on through the remainder of the stimulus program, it'll probably hold at about 22 to 25%. But it may get worse, but I think that's where it'll hold. But after that, unless they plow another $2 trillion into the economy in another stimulus package, they're going to have 35%. Now, we know from the experience of the 1930s, this just doesn't work. Unemployment in 1939 was 17.4%, and in 1940 it was 16.2%. Now, that's pretty dreadful after all those years. Unemployment, supposedly, they didn't have good figures at that time, was somewhere between 25 and 30%. So all of that spending, which was 45% of GDP, didn't do the job, and it's not going to do it this time either. So the recovery that is being announced and the end of the recession that's being announced in Washington and in Wall Street just will not happen. And that stock market's going to go right back down again. It's up on smoke and mirrors. All of the good, big, important earnings have already been released. Between now and September, the market should begin to fall back, and as we go into September and October, I think we're going to go down and get some low-level tests.
Well, do you think that the people on that are trying to market the agenda to us, I'm talking about television and radio, the mainstream people, do you think that they are staying away from being falsely positive over this right now because they know that it's going to take a dive again? Because I haven't seen anybody really celebrating. You know, they're not breaking out the champagne bottles and celebrating on the financial news networks.
Well, I think what you're saying is low-level positivism. I think that's as far as they dare go with it. And, you know, they're all apolitical, meaning they have no political agenda. They're just criminals and bandits is what they are.
So it has nothing to do with the politics. That has everything to do with
the greed. Well, look what Mr. Cuomo just did, and look what Eliot Spitzer did before him. These are people who are from the far left of the spectrum politically, and they are political creatures. And they went out and they did the right thing, and that's okay. I don't like some of their other ideas, but in this case, they were doing what was good for the people.
Well, yeah, they are. I'd like to open up the phone lines and take just a couple of phone calls, 800-259-9231. If you want to get a question into Bob Chapman, 800-259-9231. We'll see if we can take some phone calls. Let me ask you, as far as any other mortgages, are any more ARMs going to be taking a major increase soon? Is there going to be anything that's going to affect the mortgage industry?
I never thought you'd ask. Where are we? Alta loans. Alta loans are loans that people generally don't have to fill any paperwork out. They use their FOIC scores, and they're usually 650, 660, 670 in that range.
Now that's even up to. Tell people what the normal score or a good score is.
A good score is over 700, which includes half of Americans, incidentally. A super-duper score is 850 or 950. I don't know what the top on that is. I read about varying tops on this thing, so we'll call it 850. And so the Alta loans have about another 4 or 5 months to go till the end of the year. And those are ARMS, adjustable rate mortgages. The subprimes are gone, except for the subprimes that are being recreated by our government in order to move lower-priced homes. And what they're doing is that they're making the same mistakes that they made before. Those mistakes are we're giving homes to people who really shouldn't have them. Mm-hmm. They don't qualify. And so with that said, that group is being restarted again, and they'll start failing in probably another 6 months to a year. The next problem is the option ARM loans, which are also called pick-and-pay loans, and you pay whatever you want to pay within the structure of the loan, and they usually last 5 years, and then you have to reset on them.
Okay, now the pick-and-pay is coming up for renewal?
They have been in renewal for about a year, and they got 4 years to go, which will take them through the end of 2012. They're really problematic, and most of the homes are expensive homes. The next category is prime mortgages, and prime mortgages belonging to people who have FOICs of 750 and 800 who lost their jobs, and consequently they can't make their mortgage payments. Mm-hmm. So they are making up 50% of the failures right now.
Okay, let me go to Mark in Tennessee quickly here. And Mark in Tennessee, you're on the air with Bob Chapman.
I don't know where she is.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Hi, Mark? Good morning. Got a question for you. I've been looking at the United States Treasuries for about the last 10 months. I've noticed since October they've actually gone up in value, which is, to me, reverse of what they should have been doing if the value of the dollar is going down. Why is it that the Treasury seems to be going up? And would you recommend people staying in that Treasury note if you're doing the 401k thing and you're locked into either brick-and-mortar buildings or Treasuries?
Well, first of all, we recently, last January, the 10-year Treasury note yielded 2.35%. It wasn't but 2 months ago it was yielding 4%. We forecast that, although we said it would happen before the year was out, and it happened in June, actually. And so you have a situation where they will knock back down again. They went back down to around 3.48%. They closed on Friday at 3.66%. Why is that all happening? And like you say, the Treasury should be going down and the yield should be going up with the problems we've got. And it's being caused by interference in the markets by the United States government. That's what's going on. The United States government has instructed the Federal Reserve, or they made a deal, or whichever you want to call it, to go in and buy U.S. Treasuries in the market, not only the 10s, but the 5s, the 3s, the 2s, the 1s, and the 30, 60, 90, and 180-day paper.
What would you advise Mark to do then?
Well, I'm advising subscribers to go into foreign treasuries, and the ones I like the best are the Canadian dollar treasuries, the Swiss franc treasuries, followed by the Australian dollar treasuries. I think they will hold up the best of all the treasuries. And you can buy them and sell them at any time. A lot of brokers don't cover them, but some do. But I think if the dollar is going to come down in value, then you don't want to be in the dollar. You don't want to be in U.S. Treasuries. You want to be, perhaps, in Canadian or Swiss or Australian Treasuries.
Let me just add, Mark, if you're not subscribing to the International Forecaster newsletter, the phone number is 877-479-8178, 877-479-8178. Thank you very much for the phone call. Let me go to Jean in Ohio. Jean, you're on the air. Go ahead, please, with Bob Chapman.
Hi. I just had a quick anecdote that I wanted to mention about a businessman here in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually sort of putting on a protest. He's up on the roof of his business, and he's protesting. He's going to stay up there, he says, because he can't get a loan, and despite all the money that was funneled to the banks and so on. And I just thought I wanted to mention that as a quick little anecdote, which I was glad to see that he's squawking and screaming. And oddly enough, a lot of people think, that it must be his fault or something like that.
Well, there needs to be thousands of people on thousands of roofs if they're going to make a difference. That's the only thing, is that one guy on his roof or one guy going on a tractor to Washington, D.C. that's a Gulf War veteran is not going to make the difference that we need. And we need to have all the farmers on all their tractors supporting these guys.